Good afternoon, Britain. It's 24 minutes past 1. Now, England were back at it again last night in another thrilling contest against Slovenia.
Oh, yawn. We nearly all fell asleep watching that, didn't we?
Well, fans made their frustrations heard at the end of the game, booing the manager and the players off the pitch.
Well, despite the performance, England do top the group with 5 points, but are fans right to criticise the team's performances in such a way?
Well, joining us now is the former England footballer Danny Mills, who played with Southgate in the 2002 World Cup, and maths teacher and football enthusiast Bobby Seagull. So we've got a former player's perspective and a fan's view. But let's start with you, Danny.
Well, I think obviously we understand that performances are not where we want them to be. They haven't maybe been as exciting as we wanted. Players haven't performed. That has to be first and foremost. I have to look at maybe the reasons why that's happening, maybe several different reasons for that. I think the weight of expectation is starting to get to the players. Ever since in Gareth's first tournament, he didn't make the right decisions. We should have done better in that. We got to the semi-final for the first time for a long, long time. In the last Euros, we could have easily won it on a penalty. If we win that, all criticism goes out the window. 2 penalties get missed, that's it. In the last World Cup, it comes down to a penalty. If Harry Kane scores that penalty against France, we probably go on and do much better in the game. And obviously we played very, very well in that game. So performances haven't been great, but we go into this tournament and England fans and media we have some divine right that we should be winning this tournament. You know, we are supposedly the favourites. We're not. We are not the best team in Europe at the moment. You know, our squad is lopsided. It's weak in certain areas. But we seem to think that if we do not win this tournament, it's an absolute disaster because we have some good attacking players. We've always had that. And it just looks like at the moment that expectation is starting to weigh heavily on the players. The young players, they're making some bad decisions at times. They look like they're playing with a little bit of fear as well. And that's not good. And then whether the fans are booing Gareth Southgate or whether they're booing the players cannot differentiate from that. So England have topped the group. They go into the next round, into the knockout stages, and they're being booed by their own fans. Yeah. Let's not forget that when Spain won the World Cup, they lost their opening game of the tournament. Last time out, when Portugal won it, they didn't win a single game in 90 minutes. Does anybody care about that? No. OK, we need to now perform. So judge England on the knockout stages, not on performances so far.
All right. Well, Bobby Seagull, expectations might be a little too high and it doesn't help booing the players.
First of all, it's a pleasure to be on the same Paul as Danny, big fan of yours. So as a fan, and again, I was lucky enough to go to the England semi-final against Denmark in Euros and the final against Italy. And I would say that fans, they invest a lot of time and money. They're traveling abroad, emotional energy. And I think again, as a West Ham fan, what we always expect our players is just to give it their all. And again, if you look at the context of our team, we've got the La Liga player of the season. We've got the Premier League player of the season, the top scorer in the Bundesliga. And again, yesterday we were playing Slovenia, who were ranked 57th in the world. I know international football is different, but they're sandwiched between Iraq and Uzbekistan. So obviously, international football is very different to domestic football. But what we as England fans want is our players to give it their all, which they seem to be doing, but playing attacking, pressing football. And it seems to be that the players are playing quite cagey. They're quite on the back foot. They're very hesitant, as Danny mentioned. And I think that's where certain fans get upset, think I've gone all the way to Germany, given up, time and holiday money. I'm not getting the sort of effort that I think I deserve as a fan. So, of course, the fans throwing cups, that's unacceptable. But booing, sadly, I think it's the reality of sport. Again, we saw in 2010 when England, I think there's a famous scene with Rooney getting, sort of pushing the camera away. And football, again, it's a high-intensity, emotional sport. And if fans think that our players are not giving the all, and again, I think they're giving the all, but the perception is they're sort of holding back. I can see why it spills over into booing.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it, Danny? There's such an emotionally charged sport. Fans are paying huge amounts of money to go to the stadium. Fans are leaving work early to get there, to get to the fan section in whatever city they're in. They're really excited and they want to know that their players for their country are going to give it their all. And it just doesn't seem that way, Danny. Do they deserve the criticism, surely?
This is what amazes me. Do you think any player, any person, any sports person in the world pulls on their national vest and doesn't give it their all. I mean, think about that. That's ludicrous. They know the amount of criticism that they will come in for. This is not that they're not trying. You know, things go wrong. Look at Rory McIlroy in the golf a couple of weeks ago. He misses 2 3-foot putts. He's one of the world's greatest players, but pressure gets to him. Expectation got to him, and he missed that. And loading these players, young players, that many of them haven't been in this situation before. I accept that we may have the Premier League Player of the Year, but he plays for Manchester City. He plays with top players in the world all the time. Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Erling Haaland, Rodri. Jude Bellingham is sandwiched. It has Luka Modric, Toni Kroos, Vinicius Junior in front of him, Tony Rudiger behind that. These are different types of players. They are better than what's in the England team at the moment. So they have a different type of game, a different type of freedom. It's a different format that they're playing, different teammates. The players are trying. It's not quite working at the moment. But I've never understood, what is the point of booing the players? The fans want better performances. Do they think booing the players, whether that be the manager or the players thinking it's aimed at them, is that going to help the players?
But Danny,
you're a maths teacher. Would you boo your students if you didn't think they tried?
Well, let's throw that to Bobby.
Well, I guess the equivalent is I wouldn't boo my students. I think I'd be expelled as a teacher.
So therefore, why is it acceptable to boo the players? If you had a student that you didn't think was trying his all, would you boo him?
But Danny, there's alternatives. So in a class, and the teacher, the reprimands, punishments, I might maybe sanctioning them, maybe making them miss their break or lunchtime. And as fans, you obviously can't do that. So the only way they can express discontent, again, if I'm a fan, I've been to many games. I sometimes, if it's not a great performance, I might leave a few minutes early to avoid the traffic. But I can see why fans, if they've given up again time and money, if they're feeling frustrated, what's their outlet? Again, that's the thing. What's the outlet?
Sport is about winning. Sport is about winning first and foremost. All professional sport at any level, it's not entertainment. There's not a single player, coach, goes out and thinks, I have to entertain. Sport is about, we have cup competitions, we have leagues, we have championships, all because it's about winning. First and foremost, if you can win in a wonderful way and you can play amazing football and entertain by doing that, even better. But first and foremost, it has to be about winning. So until England get knocked out of the tournament, it's very, very difficult to criticise.
Bobby?
Yeah, so Danny, on that, I think you're right. Football is a sport first and foremost, but the way the business has changed the last 10, 15, 20 years, it's become entertainment as well. Of course, sport number one, but fans feel as they're paying for an experience. And again, part of the experience is, I know you're right, players probably, I'm sure they give it their all, but the perception is it looks as if, these players, they're week in, week out performing at the top level in La Liga, Champions League, and yet when they play together, it's like, as a maths teacher, I tell you 1 + 1 is 3 is synergy, but it feels like with our team, 1 + 1 is 0 - 1. So that, again, the perception, rightly or wrongly, is that our players are underperforming, and that maybe booing's not the right way to get around, but I can't see what other ways would fans...
I'm not going to argue, Bobby, that they've underperformed and they've not played to their full potential. But I just wonder, I don't understand why people think booing is a good idea. Is that going to help? You're clearly an intelligent person, sensible person. Is booing going to help those players in any way, shape or form? When they come into the next game, knowing that the fans have booed them previously, does that give them hope? Does that give them freedom? Or does that put more pressure on them?
Well, that's a very good question. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Danny Mills, former footballer, of course, and Bobby Seagull, who is a football enthusiast. Thank you very much. Got the two sides there, certainly. I think that's a very good question to end with. Is it actually going to help anyone booing? It's just it's an outlet, isn't it, for people?
Yeah, let's get to Tatiana.